So today's video is to show you how to fix a leaking water line in your home, even if you've never done plumbing before. And I think you can do it for under $30. You can do it cheap, let's put it that way. You'll need a couple of tools and a couple of things to know about, and I'll show you how to get it done really quickly. So the first thing you got to do is shut off the water for your house. And so I have mine labeled so people who don't know where it is can find it. But of course I know where it is, and I have this automatic shut off on it from Akara that I can use to shut it off even if I'm away from the house. But these are the better kind of valves. If you have an old turn one, then you got to make sure it actually shuts off because a lot of those don't work really well. So we're not talking about this kind of water line. This is a drain line, so this is going out of your house. If you have a leak in this kind of pipe, that's a totally different fix. Okay, so first of all, let me be specific. I'm talking about an inline, an incoming water line. So in your house, that's gonna look like this. It could be red or it could be white as well. This is a blue one, and that's a PEX line, so it's plastic. Or it could look like this as copper, or if you have really old one, you're probably not gonna be able to do this method, but that would be the galvanized steel. But copper is more likely to bust, especially if it has frozen, but sometimes it can just bust for other reasons. PEX can bust, but not as likely as the copper. So I'm going to show you specifically if you have a copper line, how to replace it. It will basically apply the same thing if you were to have a PEX line in your home that you haven't dealt with before. Bare minimum tools, if you're dealing with copper, are going to be these. They're not super expensive, but these are good to have on hand. So I was actually at the store today because I have a little project I need to do, and so I need to go buy some new SharkBite fittings. So this is what makes your life easy. So SharkBite fittings will connect to both copper and to PEX. Of course, I just showed you this is a 1/2 inch copper, this is a 3/4 inch PEX. So technically we'd be connecting these two because they're the same size. Very important in buying these is figuring out the size of your pipe. And when you're in the store, it can be a little overwhelming because there's so many things, but they're color coded. So figure out what you need and then find that section. So this is a typical PEX fitting, and this one's a brass one. But so this one, you have to have tools to connect your lines to it. And the tools are a bit expensive. I have a couple on hand. If you don't have those on hand though, that's really what I'm showing you today, is how to deal with a leak if you don't have those tools. So what do you need? Well, you need these. These, if you have copper, you will need these to cut the copper. So this is what you're going to cut around the copper with. And you're going to cut around it simply by tightening it down, simply by tightening this down and going around, keeping a straight circle around it. When you're finished, then you need 2 tools to clean your copper up. So this one goes inside, and this one goes on the outside. And that's just important to keep it smooth and good. And even using a SharkBite fitting, you're going to want that nice clean edge. So if you're using PEX piping, the other tool you would need then is some sort of a cutting tool to give you a nice clean edge cut. So here I'm cutting 3/4 inch PEX with my ratcheting cutters, and it just cuts a nice smooth edge. You want to make sure that it's smooth and as level as it can be, because that's your better fit than for going inside of your SharkBite. Okay, so method 1 would be to use PEX piping and SharkBite fittings to replace a section of your pipe. And so let's say you had a leak right here. Well, you want to cut it big enough to give you plenty of room to work with. So I would give it 10 to 12 inches in there. Your PEX piping is not expensive, so you can buy a straight measure of it for not very much. The real cost is in these fittings. The SharkBite fittings are about $10 each for this style that will connect on both ends. The good thing about these is you can take them off. And so there's a removal tool as well. So I'm not going to cut this one, but I'm going to show you how it connects on each end. So we've got a leak. So let's say we cut this section out, and then I have a top end of my pipe and a bottom end of my pipe. Well, the SharkBite fitting is simply going to pop on here, and you feel it kind of click into place. Give it a tug, and it will not come off. All right. Now I have a removal tool. The removal tool is a couple bucks, and it just presses against this to release it. I'm not going to release it yet. That's how it works. Are there other tools that will do that? There are, but for two bucks, this one's worth it. On your other end, then this is where your PEX pipe fits in. And so it's also just going to pop into place. You hear it snap, and now it's tight. Is that going to hold water? Yes, absolutely. I have a lot of these in my house, and they are very, very reliable. So I'm going to remove these. Let's talk about the next option. So you could also do the same thing if you had a length of PEX pipe, but the other option is instead of putting PEX pipe in the middle, that you buy a slip fitting that fits your pipes. So those are a little bit more expensive, but you can probably do that in the long run for less money. You're still going to need to buy the tools to clean up your copper and to cut it, and you're still going to need to be able to turn your water off. But in terms of putting a fitting on here, you can buy a flexible one that looks sort of like this one. Mine has a valve on it. Or you can buy a straight one that it's basically inflexible in the middle. And so that can be a little bit tougher to get put into place with your existing pipes. So you really need to be able to move the bottom pipe up and down a little bit for that to work for you. That's probably helpful in any application, but that's not always the luxury you get because plumbing is often in really tight places. These tools right here, you can purchase and at any hardware store. You can probably buy them on the Amazon as well. And then your PEX fittings. So again, these were about $10 each today at the big orange sign store. But I like to keep a couple of these on hand just so that I can handle a plumbing emergency if I need to without having to go to the store, because you never know when those are going to happen. Hope that was helpful. Thanks for watching.